Alright, welcome back to the channel. Max Tornow here. In this video I want to talk about crypto and how there are so many people gambling their life away and how you should be careful and should do something else instead. This is going to trigger a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of crypto kids spam commenting, but hear me out, okay? First and foremost, I want to tell you the following thing. I myself have bought a quite significant six-figure sum of crypto back in 2017, I think. I did it with a bunch of excess liquidity that I had from my info products. Put it in the crypto, haven't had a look at it in a while. Every now and then I look and I'm like, oh, this is a significant sum. This is interesting. So don't tell me like, oh, you don't believe in crypto, bad for you. Like, I've basically profited vastly from it. Haven't paid anything out for the following reason though, and that's the main point. I did not invest my life savings in that. I just literally invested a little bit of 100K in there because I had that lying around and I was like, oh, in case this blows up, here it is. All right, if I lose it, I don't mind. And what's interesting is what happened. I did that before the bubble burst back in, when did it burst? In 2017 or something like that? So I did all that before the bubble burst, and then the bubble did burst and the money went almost completely back to zero, like almost the entire initial investment gone. But I was just like, whatever. I was willing to lose it, and now it's gone and it's fine, and I didn't have to pay myself out the rest just to at least feel less pain. I just kept it there, and now it went back up. Which brings me to the first lesson here, and I see this so many people out there doing. They're suffering from this huge FOMO that gets amplified on social media by random schmuck influencers who've never built a business themselves. They have zero financial literacy, saying like, blah, 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 coin is mooning, go buy it, here's my buddy, and it's gonna 1000x and stuff like that. And then people are freaking out, and they're taking their hard-earned money and they're pouring it into that, hoping to just, you know, strike gold. But is that really what you want to build your life upon? Is that like the outcome of your life, how your life is going to end up on at least financial sense, shall be based on some blah blah coin mooning or not, of which you have zero understanding about it? Maybe you've read a couple articles that anybody could write nowadays. Anybody could sound smart on some forum or some heavily biased, you know, news outlet or whatever. Like, is that what you want to base your life on? Like, I thought you want to learn. I thought you want to work on yourself. I thought you want to improve. I thought you want to invest in yourself, not in some random thing that you don't understand. All right? And again, it comes from a standpoint from somebody who has invested in crypto, but I never put all my eggs into one basket. I never have had a horse in that race, because the only horse that I had in that race was myself. Right? My skills, my knowledge, the things that I've been building. So it's actually much smarter to say, for example, and it's so beautiful here. I missed the sunset because I was ranting about crypto. It's much smarter to actually invest in yourself and in your skills, because that stays for a lifetime. All right, that's the first point. It stays for a lifetime. Nobody can take these skills away from you unless you get hit by a truck on the head and you kind of lose your consciousness or whatever, but you know, then you have bigger issues. But number two, it's also something that is in your control. You can control what you do with your knowledge. You can control what you want to be doing with your skills, if you want to improve them, if you want to get better, if you want to stack it, and so on and so forth. You don't have control if you invested in something, especially as volatile as crypto. Now, do I believe that the idea of something decentralized is good? Absolutely. I hate banks as much as the next guy, and I like the idea of everything being decentralized as much as the next guy. But it's not about that. It's about a lot of people literally gambling their lives away and putting all their eggs into one basket and just hoping that this is gonna moon. But this is not the purpose of growing up. This is not the purpose of learning. This is not what your life should be based on. Your life should be based on learning and getting better and continuously grow. And if you've been following me from my very first business, the dating advice and personality development, like, this is what we've talked about all the time. You know, take massive action, learn, get better, adjust your approach, and keep growing. And not like gamble. It's a bad idea to gamble, because look at the outcome. If you gamble, be it with crypto or gambling in general, either you win. What's going to happen is you might make a ton of money, or a medium amount of money, or whatever. You make money, But what has happened is because you didn't deserve that money via hard work and putting out value into this world, you just have a bunch of money, you're missing the maturity of it, you're missing the appreciation of it. And I've seen this time and time again. Actually, here in Cyprus, I met someone that I became friends with, and they said, like, look, actually the worst thing that happened to me was me becoming a millionaire from crypto. And what this certain individual has done is he made a ton of money. He started, you know, partying, throwing it all out, started moving to Dubai, partying, taking drugs, and he lost himself in it because he was lacking the maturation process. I don't know the exact word. He was lacking the process of becoming more and more mature gradually as he's making more money. That was just taken away from him. So he was basically like a kid who was all of a sudden granted this gift of millions of euros. And then, of course, he lost it all, and now he's back in ground zero. He learned a ton from that, and he's happy about that, and now he's making money with his business in a much better way, which is very, very interesting. So if you win with your gamble, you might make a lot of money, but you're losing the lesson, and there's no amount of money in this world that can compensate for your loss in lesson. I mean, there's so many great videos out there nowadays about, you know, NBA players that are making millions that are just literally spending it all, and then they're getting in huge financial trouble down the line. So if you think like, hey, an NBA player that is signing a $30 million contract, well, maybe they can keep it together, but they can't, then do you really think you possess the maturity to keep it together if you make $1 million off crypto? No, it's very unlikely. If it happens, that's great, and I love it, and more power to you, and I'm happy. But ultimately, it's unlikely for that to happen. Or the other outcome is, you know, you follow the hype, you invest a ton of money that you cannot afford to lose, and you actually do lose the money. So now you have less money than before, and maybe you've learned a lesson of not gambling, but ultimately, is that really worth it? What I would do instead is the following. Instead, I would invest in myself, right? Maybe build a business, and that business is actually built on providing value to a lot of individuals out there. And as you're making more money, you'll learn more about building your business, right? You learn more about scaling your business. You learn more about getting value out there. You learn more about finances. You learn more about revenue and costs, expenses, profits. And as you're making more and more money, you start rewarding yourself gradually. Maybe at first you're gonna go out for dinner, then you're gonna go out for a more expensive dinner. You get the expensive steak, you know, you take your girlfriend out, for example. Then maybe you buy your first Rolex, and then you realize, hey, if I buy a Rolex, this is actually a pretty good investment because it keeps its value. Most of the time it increases in value. It's protected against the inflation. It's also good for marketing, and so on and so forth. So you gradually start rewarding yourself, and at some point you have so much excess liquidity where you say, okay, now let me invest in real estate that actually gets more value. Or now let me take a chunk of that, a couple 10,000 or a couple 100,000 euros or dollars, where you say, I can totally be okay with losing that. Let me put that on crypto because I believe in the idea of decentralization. That's okay. That's what I would recommend you as someone who's done it before, just so you understand that there's value in hardship. There's value in you building something. There is no value in you gambling. In fact, you either win, you make a lot of money, but you lose the lesson, or you lose the money and the lesson you learn isn't that great. All right, so these are my 2 cents on the whole idea of crypto. Again, coming from someone who invested a lot of money into crypto back in 2017, and I'm still holding it, and it looks great, and I'm happy. But ultimately, I was totally fine with losing it all. I was just putting a little bit of excess liquidity into that, and that's it. Do I believe in the idea of decentralization? 100%. Do I believe in the idea of a bunch of 20-year-olds gambling their life away? No. No es bueno. Not so good. So I want to thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you. I'm not going to give you any call to action. I hope this video is call to action enough for you to understand what's important in life. And enjoy this beautiful sunset. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy. To this day, I closed 7K. I started as a fitness coach around mid-November. Thanks a lot to this great community. So many thanks to you, Max. I made it work, and I closed my first client 1 month after I've started. And at some point, I felt really like I was hitting a wall, and at some point the wall just broke. So it's all about being consistent and pushing through and having blind faith. I'm way more confident today in my ability to make a business work, and I'm excited to see what is the next step. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. GG.